Hello, welcome back to the Mr. Arsenal podcast for another match day-ish review. Basically, another win. 5 points clear. The buffer continues. The weird season we're having in one sense because we weren't expecting this is continuing. We're winning. We've gone up against United, had a bit of a wobble during the game. We've come through it, been tested. Bring on Man City. I don't bring on the fifth. I can't believe that. Bring on February the 15th. But as you can see, and obviously all the listeners will be able to find out, we are joined again by Kunjan, and we've got Liam, who was at the game yesterday. How you doing, guys? You all right, Liam?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Well, I've had better days, mate, to be honest. I'm not well at all, but yeah.
All that alcohol. It's all that alcohol you keep drinking every match day.
I wish it was, mate. I wish it was. They've actually, this will make you laugh. They've actually banned shots from the Wetherspoons. No shots on match day anymore.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I do wonder why. Not, but yeah, not really much to drink for me yesterday whatsoever. Which was good in some ways because it was kind of nice to watch the game and be kind of sober and experience that game because the game, it was an unbelievable game of football, and I think both teams come out of that with a lot of credit, if I'm being totally honest.
Us more than them because obviously we had to battle back through
adversity. Yeah, obviously, yeah.
And obviously we won the game, which is the main thing.
I do think what I've seen this season, they've probably been the best team coming forward against us. They're definitely in transition. They were very quick coming forward with the players they had, and I thought they quite impressed me coming forward. Didn't really understand why they went into a shell for the last 20 minutes. I didn't understand that whatsoever.
No, and we'll get into that soon, but I'll get Kunjan's thoughts as well. I'll get your thoughts on the game itself. But at the start of it, especially the first half, we come out, it's our strongest 11. We know Casemiro's not in the 11. Tomley came in his place. We knew with Partey, Xhaka, and Odegaard, it'd still be too much for them, in my opinion, anyway. But we had a bit of a wobble about 16, 17 minutes from Rashford. Bit of dwelling on the ball, messing about, and it cost us, but we bounced back. Eddie stepping up, and we'll get into Eddie properly in this podcast along the way. But again, I want to get your thoughts on that. Everything played out in the first, how it played out in the first half, and who shone for you in that first half, basically.
So the first half, obviously, we started off quite shaky, and when Rashford did put the goal in, I'll be very honest with you, I was a little worried because I was like, the second half, I know we'll pick up the momentum, and Ben White's booking. So there's certain factors you were like, okay, this is not going as per plan, and you obviously want to get certain elements moving in the right direction. But I must say, overall, if I was just to sum it up, I genuinely think it was the best game I've watched this season. And I know we'll have highlights of beating Tottenham home and away. Even the Brighton game with the scoreline of 4-2. I mean, there's certain games that stay with you, and you're like, okay, this was a good game, but this just felt like a proper game. And I guess it's early days, but it did take you back to the early 2000s when there was a fiery atmosphere between Manchester United and Arsenal, and it just felt very nostalgic watching what we did yesterday, and I was very happy with the game. Like, the result was just a cherry on the cake, but what a game! What a game!
No, exactly. And that's the main takeaway. Everyone took, even neutrals, the pundits, and the media taking away that the game itself was pretty much a bit of a throwback to the early 2000s, the Ferguson, Wenger glory years in terms of head-to-head, going toe-to-toe, goals galore. And
I'm sorry. You said Ferguson and who? Because I think they here forgot the name as well. I think so did I. Ferguson and that Arsenal dude, right?
That French guy called Arsene. It didn't achieve much in his time, but there was a sort of a rivalry between the two managers themselves. But yeah, oh dear. But no, it was that. It did have that skill as the game played out as well. It did have that skill, and like Liam touched on, when it went 2-2, I'm thinking in the second half, I'm thinking the weight because the weight went as well. We get another. It was avoidable all in one sort of a paragraph, basically a very avoidable goal, like the first. And you're just thinking it's one of them days where they're going to drop points, and it's the media just there like, yes, come on, drop the point so we can bounce on you. But what was bizarre that the immediate reaction of Ten Hag was to take an attack off in Anthony and put a CDM on a defensive player in Fred, and it's that straight away. I was on stream with the chat. That tells me they're trying to protect what they've got now. They're happy with half an hour to go. They're happy with a 2-2 draw. They're not going to go for it. And that really for me fed into us because we're at home. You're dropping deep. You're inviting us to come on. This ain't an Arsenal from 10, 15 years ago where if you dropped and let us come at you, we were starting if things weren't going our way. We started panicking and launching the ball in left, right, and centre. We kept playing our game. We kept pressing, playing the way we want to play, and eventually it worked out. Trossard got his debut as well, but for me, in everything that we went for, that was the first goal. We bounced back about 6-7 minutes later. Bounced back, got the equaliser. Great goal from Mehdi and great cross from Xhaka and build up and all that. Then we take the lead. A fantastic goal from Saka. Fantastic. He almost did it again later on in the game. And then obviously Trossard, and you think it's just like it's a character. That game, if anything, really from an Arsenal perspective, showed the character of this team this season. We're going to go down fighting, and if you can fight with us, you'll get that from it. If you don't, we're going to win this game. And a few people have said now since the full-time whistle that because of how that game played out, that was a statement win to the media, to the pundits, to the doubters, to the rival fans that we aren't just in it for the half a season. We're dealing with the pressure of Pep because Pep's playing his mind games as well during midweek. But we're gonna go all the way. We're gonna push City because obviously with the result yesterday, it now basically, even though it's mathematically still possible, realistically, it's a straight shootout between us and City now because of us beating United and being what was it 9-10 points clear now. But I mean, Liam, what was your thoughts on the first half? I mean, Ben White, again, I said this during the stream, Ben White he didn't look at the races. He wasn't with it. He was, at one point in the first half, he had the ball and he was passing it to a Man United player. And it's just like he freely did it. It wasn't like an accidental pass. He made a mistake. He looked like he freely done it. And defensively, he just won with it.
Yeah, we were saying in the stands after about 35 minutes that Ben White had come off at half time. I'll be honest, I didn't know whether Mikel Arteta would do it, but I was really impressed that he made that decision at half time because if he didn't, I think Ben White would have got sent off in the second half. Marcus Rashford obviously kind of tore him a new one at certain points, and obviously I think it's hard, isn't it, at times because we've got to remember Ben White's still learning the role of a right back as such as being obviously predominantly a centre-back for us until this season. So I suppose you've got to expect these kind of games from time to time, especially against the bigger players and the bigger teams. Obviously, Rashford's a man in form, so we knew that was going to be the area of concern. And, yeah, boy, was it a concern at half-time. I was pretty impressed with Tomiyasu's second half, to be fair, because I was worried about him over the last few games when he's come on. Like the Brighton game, I thought he got exposed quite badly, and I thought he had a really shaky half. But I thought when he come on in that second half, I thought he done really well and he supported Saka really well. But the first half was a funny one because the first 5 minutes we come out like an express train. We had about 2 or 3 corners. We really steamed into them, as I said, we realised straight away that this is probably the best team that we've seen coming forward in terms of transition. So when we did lose the ball in midfield, they did come with us at pace, and I think in the first half, it did affect us, and I think it did kind of play a little bit into the minds that actually these ain't a bad team. Do you know what I mean? They might not have Casemiro here, but they still got some bloody good players there. But you've got to look at it and you've got to say what a response. 1-0 down. Arsenal was as hold. I remember the back. I sat there and thought straight away, I ain't gonna be like back in the day. Is it? We play really well against Man United, and then we go 1-0 down, and then we go 2-0 down, and that was in the back of my mind. But the response was superb. Like within about 4 or 5 minutes, we're 1-0. And I thought the first half, probably I was happy to get in at half time level because I knew the second half we'd come out a different team.
Yeah, and we did. In the second half, we did. And if anything, we were even more aggressive in our attacking play in the start of that second half than we were in the first half. And that's saying something, like you said. And the way we started that first half, as you mentioned, we were in their faces like a train, like going at it 6 or 3, 4 different corners, whatever. I'm here on the stream and I'm thinking, don't be a Newcastle. Don't go early bird, all out, and then just sit and then literally just have to sit back and soak up pressure, and then drag out a 0-0. Obviously, I think the goal from there, if anything, benefited because obviously it gave us the time to respond. And they made a game of it then, and it made a spectacle. And the goal itself, the equaliser from Eddie, how can I put it? I couldn't be more happier for him to score the goal, but obviously Granit as well down on that wing as well, crossing the ball in. And it wasn't just like a hit and hope cross or we'll get frustrated outside the box. It was calculated, the passing, and it's almost like when off you go, you do it, you do your job. With no panic from Arsenal. And like you mentioned, in years gone by, we go against anyone. If we went in a pressure situation like we've put ourselves in this title race now, if we go 1-0 down in years gone by, that'll be it. No, the mental switch was a switch off, and then the players just sort of give up. And as I say, that yesterday's game showed that this season, this is a different Arsenal. They are not going to be affected by knockbacks, no matter when it is in the game. Even if it's like 5 minutes before the end, they'll pick themselves up and they'll go again and they'll fight to the bitter end. And when Eddie scored that goal, it was like fantastic. That's obviously 6 at the time. He's 6 in 7 goals. Six goals in 7 games. Sorry, he'd had at that point, and then obviously, as you say, going at half-time sub from Arteta with Ben White going off for Tomiyasu, and people can have their faults, but I think it's more down to the fact he just didn't look at the races. He was getting torn a new one by Rashford. And instead of waiting for something worse to happen, for once he was progressive at half time and went, you know what, I'm going to protect you now. You're on a booking anyway, but I'm going to protect you. You're going to come off. Tommy's going to go on. I'm going to rest you up for Friday or whenever we next play you. And as I say, Tommy had a few dodgy moments, but overall he was superb in that right back position compared to previous games with Tomiyasu anyway. And then, as I said, second, I mentioned it before, referred to it before, the second goal from Saka. I mean, the goal, Liam, was up at your end as well in the North Bank. So you get to see it as the shot comes off. At any point, did you think that wasn't going to go in as he left his foot?
No, I was right diagonal to it where it was going. As soon as that ball left his foot, there was no way, no one was getting close to that. You've got to be asking the question of McTominay in that guy. I see that back today, and McTominay should have closed him down much quicker. I know that obviously Eriksen didn't fulfill himself in glory in that, but that was poor from Man United. Like McTominay should have been much more alert to kind of block it out. But when you see the gap between McTominay and Eriksen and that Saka shooting the ball, that makes the goal even better than what it is. Like, he's 25 yards from goal. He literally can only hit that spot. If he hits it anywhere else, that's not a goal. That's not a goal. Unbelievable strike. And the guy just gets better and better, don't he? He's I don't like to use the word world class much because I think it's a massive, massive word. But he is on the way to being probably the best right winger in the world, the way he's going at the moment. And that's saying something because what is he, 2021?
21. He's younger. Smith is 22, so he's 21. Yeah.
it's frightening. Like you don't see a natural right winger perform week in, week out, week in, week out, week in, week out. It's probably one of the hardest positions to perform week in, week out, having to beat your man week in, week out, week in, week out. But he does it every week, and he can do everything. He can do everything. He can assist. He can score. He can build up play. He can play through balls. He can beat you on the outside. He can beat you on the inside. I can't believe how good he is already at his age, and it beggars belief that you have people out there in the World Cup sitting there saying that he didn't deserve to be in the England team. At the moment, he's probably, apart from Rashford, but I'd probably say he's better than Rashford. Obviously, he's England's best player at the moment.
On form, yeah, you can't disagree. That what makes it even better for us, because obviously he's one of our own. He's a product of our own academy, our own club. It didn't cost us nothing. Obviously, him coming in when he broke through, obviously it is the known thing in the club at the outside that him breaking through when he did, and even then when he was breaking through, he was pretty much most of the time, 9 times out of 10, the standout player. He was carrying the club at the age of 18, 19. It's only like this. It was only last season and now this season where the squad is getting better with him, coming along with him now, to the point where he could have he has had a few quiet games, not bad games, but quiet games to his own standards. But you don't notice it because everyone else now that at the same level as him, and we still get the wins, we still get the performances and results because we've got other team players around us now, not just incoming, but that have come up with him to his level now, and that's you can't say that's not huge, because that is huge. And you think about, he's not the only academy player. We've just announced, as we were going live, by the way, Arsenal have just announced their new signing of a centre back as well from Serie A. I can't pronounce his name yet. It's Jakob something. I'll learn his name and I'll get back to you on that one. But he's got the new number 15. He's a centre back, tall guy. So we are adding as well to our team in terms of squad depth. But anyway, going back to Saka and the fact that we've got players at his level now, so it's easy. It takes a lot of pressure off him. And then we're seeing now Saka, as you say, 20, 21, whatever it is, and he's just so young and he's so raw still. And if he's doing this now, what's he going to do? What's he going to be like when he hits his prime years in the next few years, 4 or 5 years down the line? It's if you're a rival, you should be scared. And when he was coming through, we were bigging him up, rightly so, because we're Arsenal fans. We're going to do that because he's coming from our academy. How can I pull it? And we were bigging him up. And you got the rival fans. Oh, you're overhyping him. Why are you calling him star boy? He's not a star boy. He's this. He's just bang average on his day. You'll see. And he's just proving the doubters wrong. That makes it even better that he's proving the doubters wrong, because we here in England, the media, obviously media in general, but now you've got the social media side of things joining into that as well. They love, I don't know why, but they get a kick out of tearing our own players down. No matter what their age is, what their abilities are, they love at any point in their career to try and tear them down and make them feel worthless. And you can't, again, Saka with his social medias and all that, again, it was abuse he got along with Rashford and all that a couple of years ago. You can't tell me he doesn't see these idiots say these things. It wouldn't surprise me if he uses that with Arteta as fuel to, all right, you keep saying what you're going to say. I'm going to do this to you. To the point now, I think he's our top goal scorer, joint top goal scorer now with Eddie, because Eddie's come in and scored. Obviously, he's scored a winner. He's got 77 himself. But it's not just the goals. Obviously, the goal was fantastic yesterday. It was like, obviously, given the space, it was he almost did it again as well. It's about 10 minutes later. If it weren't for a little slight nick off Eriksen's leg, it would have happened again. And that would be an absolute rub in some of the wounds, and it would have been fantastic. But it's also, as you say, when he's not scoring, it's his assists. If he's not assisting or scoring, it's his build-up play. And the more confident he's getting in the box, and he's taking defenders on now even more aggressively and getting out of these tricky situations and freeing up space. and contributing to the build-up either way, and contributing to goal-creating chances. I mean, I've got to bring Kunjan. He's been quiet for a while. He's been patiently waiting to get his word in now. Just on Saka, what are your thoughts on Saka? Because obviously, we've heard what me and Liam have had to say, and let's see what you've got to say about it in terms of your opinion on Saka yesterday and in general.
When you watch his evolution of how he started, where he was like, I think early on he was a right wing back, then he was brought to left wing back. Then again, he was pushed a little further. He was experimented all over the pitch, even at the number 10 role. And how he's evolved, even in the England squad, like they played him on the left, they played him on the right, they played him left wing back, right wing back. The kid has got so much maturity, and that's one thing like you have to see in the squad. If you look on paper, yes, they're young. You look at Martinelli, you look at Saka, even at Odegaard. But all three of them have so much maturity about them. There's a lot of intelligence in their play. When you watch Saka's game, even he's evolving. If you watch maybe, I think, the 1920 season, he used to go into the box and would try to get the shot. He'd try to get the shot. Now, sometimes we try to criticize him or Martin Odegaard, where we'd say they try to find the pass. But I think that level of play is what Arteta's implementing, and they're so smart about it because they've already structured the next pass well in advance. If you look at how the third goal came from the same kind of structure, where Granit Xhaka gets the ball, Trossard plays it down to Zinchenko. Zinchenko crosses it over. Odegaard tries to score, gets down to Eddie's shot, where Eddie's in position. Eddie could have been in the center, and this would be a different story. And if you look at the kind of style of play that everyone's adapting to, at 21 years of age, for you to understand the tactics to such an intelligent level and still get disrespected, because let's be honest, we've heard it all as Arsenal fans. We've heard it all as our players individually. Mudryk came on for, a 15-minute appearance, and everyone was like, best thing since sliced bread. Like, Lionel, who? Look at this guy. But if hypothetically the same situation was thrown at Arsenal, yeah, he looks good, but he's not the finished product. I think Arsenal overpaid. It's just become an agenda. And when I say that, I say that even to our current players. When you look at the kind of disrespect Gabriel Martinelli gets, he's one of my favorite players in the squad. But be it in the Brazil squad, be it in the World Cup, be it right now the way he's playing. Even yesterday, he didn't have the best of games. But if you look at the kind of work Martinelli's putting in, if you look at the threat that Martinelli was, Wan-Bissaka had a good game, but he made Wan-Bissaka look quite poor. He made Wan-Bissaka look like the boy needs to go back to Crystal Palace on loan just to come back and play better. He really had him on toast. And the same thing with Bukayo, where Bukayo was playing all over the. Luke Shaw, I kid you not, at one point wanted to turn to Eric Ten Hag and say, "Please, just get me out of here. I don't know what's going on." Saka is such an intelligent player, and again, one thing that if you look at this whole Arteta squad, he's implemented the one ethos, which is he wants good, hungry, humble players, and you just see it in the kid. Like when he was at the World Cup, the way he would interact with his teammates. When you see how he talks at the end of the game, he's a humble kid. And the faster we tie him down to a contract, I think the more calm all Arsenal fans will get, which I believe it's inevitable. He will sign. He loves the club. He loves the manager. He loves the fans. He even made that very clear at the end of the game yesterday. But we have a special talent. We have many special talents, but it's something to celebrate that if we can keep this guy on a long-term contract and see him till the end, we have unearthed something we should be very, very proud of as a club.
Yeah, also, in terms of yesterday, Ian, the very lucrative group of Arsenal players that scored 3 goals in 3 games, or scored in 3 consecutive games against Man United, Freddie Ljungberg and Thierry Henry, and he was mentioning to him after the game, and he was like, "Yeah," and obviously like all shy about it, but he was like, "Yeah, it's not bad company. Hi Thierry, hi Freddie. It's like they say, it's like the humbleness of him is like he doesn't let anything go to his head. And I think having like an Arteta currently coaching him, and obviously when he's at the academy, Freddie Ljungberg himself, it was like they moulded him to this point where they've said, "Yeah, you're at Arsenal. You're from Freddie's point of view. Yeah, you're at Arsenal. You're at the academy. Fantastic, but there's ways of doing things. There's a way coming about. You need to work hard before you even think about being in the first team. And the first thing got Arteta. That's shown that if you aren't with the program, you're not showing the respect and you're not showing the right attitude, you will be put out the door within 5 minutes, basically. And that's, I think, more so with Aubameyang most recently last season. A lot of players took notice of that, and we're benefiting from it now. But with Saka, it's just, again, as I say, the fact that us fans are being proven right about, and as you say, the evolution of Saka, of how he's developed since he only broke through briefly under Emery, and then obviously Arteta kept faith in him and allowed him to develop even more and mould him to the point where he's at now. And again, he's 21. He's not even hit his prime years, and that's what I was saying before. If he's doing this now, if he's intelligence-wise in terms of gameplay, if it's at that point now, what's he going to be like when he does actually does hit his prime years in 3-4 years down, or 4 years down the line when they do hit the prime years around that sort of time? He's going to be an unbelievable force, and to come be one of our own. I keep saying it makes me so proud of what we're doing, and again, it's a salute to the job that Arteta Saka, the academy manager's doing as well. Because since he's become the academy manager, we've Eddie, you've got Eddie coming through, you've got Saka coming through, you've got Smith Rowe, you've got an elite amount of players coming through. At the same, Reece Nelson, we've got these players coming through, and even the ones that aren't going to make it, they're still going on having great careers elsewhere.
Charlie Patino is another example. He's out alone. Coming through.
Yeah, Charlie Patino's out alone.
Ainsley's out of the system, but Ainsley's also another product of
Miguel Aziz as well. We're good. Aziz, Mark McGuinness, who I know we've sold him now, but obviously he had the promise to come through, but obviously timing wasn't great for him, so we had to sort of, for his good of his career, shift him on elsewhere, and he's now playing his trades. He's just gone back to Cardiff actually from a loan spell at Sheffield Wednesday. But it's just good to have an academy now that's turning out not just one player in a generation sort of thing like we did with Ashley Cole, and we had nothing for years. It's like a conveyor belt constantly. Like we've got players coming through, like you mentioned, Charlie Patino, this, that, and the other. We did have Hutchinson, but he went off to Chelsea in the summer for money. I don't care what anyone says. He must be sick as a parrot. I don't care what anyone was. But for him to up sticks and go to Chelsea, I'm a Chelsea fan all of a sudden. Yeah, okay, sure you are. And guess what? Now you're 10th in the league, trying to get into Conference League football with your club. Well, we're competing for a title. Well done.
I think he's even 10th down the pecking order because now with all the kind of wingers that they're buying.
20th. I think we're at 20th. Maybe he's lucky. They'll win this situation. I mean, a bit generous. They're saying 10th. With all the wingers they have.
No, they have more wings in Chelsea than they do in a KFC bucket.
Oh dear! Gary in the chat says, "Evening, Ryan, Kunjan, and Bobby's dad in the chat room." Know their name now. You're just Bobby's dad now.
Wow!
Oh dear! You'll be able to get your own back on Friday if you're about. Don't worry. The FA Cup. But just going back to what the result means as well, because this time last week was 8 points clear. Since then, Man City had to play twice. They had a game in hand, well, not a game in hand, but they had a game that was carried over because of the Queen's death. That's now been played. Tottenham realised they're helping us out and thought, fuck it, we need to score, we need to concede and Spurs up a bit here. So they lost 4-2. And then Wolves just did at Wolves on yesterday, and completely just went, there you go, you have to win Haaland, have the hat trick. And it put them before kickoff 2 points behind us, and the pressure that must have been on them players. And again, it goes back to what I've been saying in just this podcast is the mentality, even with that sort of pressure put on them, knowing that the richest team in the country in terms of the squad they've got, in terms of how much he's worth, and having something like Haaland in their attack, and they're bringing down your neck, and that could have quite easily gone against us in years gone by. But for whatever reason, we went, no, today was a statement, and people keep. I mentioned it already. People did say, come on and say that was a statement win.
Yeah.
But still, you got your doubters out there. Gary Neville still thinking, no, Man City will catch us. I'm thinking, well, next league-wise, taking aside from the FA Cup for a second, next on Friday, we've got Everton away, who are now looking for a new manager, and are in piss poor form as it is. We've got Brentford at home, and then we've got Man City, obviously on the 15th, and then Villa away after that. If we win the next two, Everton and Brentford, that's 6 points out of 6. I don't know who Man City got in them games myself. I think they got Tottenham actually. They actually got to play Tottenham again actually, so that you never know. And Fulham are playing Tottenham tonight, ironically. Don't think so. Yeah, they've got Tottenham next, Man City, then they've got someone else, and then they've got us. If we get 9 points out of 9, for example, and that we're back to 8 points clear with a game in hand still. So where are they? Especially between after the 15th, the game on the 15th, and we play them again in April. We'll be playing that Everton game at home, the game in hand we have over them. So potentially we could be 11 points clear at some point. So at what point do Arsenal, the team itself, get the respect they deserve and deserve the respect that we are meriting week on week? Because you've got Gary Neville yet again going, I can see Arsenal slipping up. I'm watching this season. If you base it on this season, I'm thinking, where can you see it? Where can you see us slipping up then? Because it was, it's an early, so I haven't played. For the start of the season, it was, you haven't played anyone decent yet, and when you do, you're going to fall apart. We played United. We did lose that game away. Didn't deserve it, but we still lost. But we bounced back from that. Then it was, you haven't played anyone decent yet. This bigger than them in terms of squad that they've got at the moment. We went through October in terms of North London derby, Liverpool. Won them games. They're not at their best at the moment. It's like they keep moving the goalposts, and then it was the World Cup's come at the wrong time. They're going to come back from the World Cup. It's going to fall off the cliff for them. We've come back from the World Cup, beat West Ham, beat Brighton, beat Spurs, beat United, and drawn to Newcastle. We've only dropped 2 points in that time, basically. So, like I say, where does this sudden, I can see Arsenal dropping off and getting caught, come from? Because there's a good chance come the 15th of February, at full time whistle goes, we'll be 8 points clear with a game in hand still. It will put us 11 points clear. And that gives us, even 8 points gives us a 3-game cushion technically. And 11 points will give us a 4-game cushion technically. So where do they see us losing 3 games on the trot or 4 games on the trot? Because that's what it'd have to go at this point now. It's getting to a point where halfway through the season, and it's for City to catch us, we'd have to literally go lose, and they'd have to win at the same time. And then, again, going back to the City perspective, as a neutral in this, well, not even a neutral, as a rival, but a neutral in the sense I'm not a Man City fan. They've dropped points to Fulham. They've dropped points to Everton side. That's just sacked the manager that took points off them. I mean, they almost dropped the points to Fulham. They lost to Brentford. They lost to a Liverpool side that we beat 3-2 the week before. The bang average this season. They've lost to Southampton in the League Cup. Where's this magical? Or they've got it in them to go on the run coming from? Because it's happened in the past, but it's different this season. They've got. It's not. what Gary Neville said doesn't make sense. If anything, it should be the opposite. He should be saying, I can see Man City going on losing the X amount of games and Arsenal walking away with this. But he's adamant because he went for Man City starting the season. It seems he's adamant that no matter what, Man City will win the title. And it's sort of, and even his interview yesterday, again, kind of disrespecting us again, and it aggravates me. As I say, what have we got to do? Have we literally got to? Do we have to win the league? Literally, what? Just after Easter, around March, April time. Have we got to win the league for them to take us seriously? And even then, they won't give us our credit because even you've got people, you've got rival fans out there going, "Oh, all the teams are apart from Man City, all the teams are crap this season." You can't win the argument. If it's Man City, it'll be oh, what a fantastic thing to do! What a fantastic achievement! 3 titles on the bounce and all that. But we could potentially win a title for the first time in 19 years. There's every excuse under the book, and it absolutely aggravates the life out of me. Just give the players and Arteta the respect they deserve. I mean, I'm going to pass it back to Liam and see what he says to say about what I've just ranted off about for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, firstly, Gary Neville's a twat. Even if I want to go into that, and I'll go into that, just want to kind of discuss yesterday Gary Neville having the audacity to pinpoint Arteta's behaviour. This is the same guy who played under the biggest bully of the game, Alex Ferguson, with a team that surrounded refs, abused refs. And there's plenty of occasions when we see Sir Alex Ferguson's other side of his behaviour. So I just find it quite astonishing. This continuous witch hunt, firstly, from Mikel Arteta, from people like Gary Neville. And I don't really listen to Gary Neville anymore because he doesn't want Arsenal to win the league. He says he does, but he doesn't. He doesn't. Let's be honest. He hates Arsenal. He hates Arsenal because of everything that we done to them back in the years around the Invincibles. He hated playing against us. He got tore a new one time after time. Do you know what I mean? We was the only team to kind of ruffle Manchester United's feathers during that time. So he doesn't like us whatsoever. But what I would say is, and I would kind of say this quite clearly, I think we can start talking once we know what's happened with that Manchester City home game. I think that's the key game for me. I can see us beating them. I honestly think, yeah, right, Manchester United. I honestly think Manchester United might be the harder game. And there's 2 reasons why. The first reason, I think Man United play a little bit of a different style to what Man City do, and Mikel Arteta knows Man City inside out. And look how close we was last year to kind of turning them over. If Martinelli scores that goal straight after the restart, where it hits the bar, we win that game. And then obviously, unfortunately, Gabriel gets sent off seconds later. So I actually think the Manchester United game might be tougher at home than Man City. If we beat Man City at home, I was thinking about this today. It's not a foregone conclusion that they're going to go and win at Tottenham in a couple of weeks' time. We know what Spurs are like, but we know Spurs can beat Man City. They are one of the teams still. I know they folded the other week, but we know they can beat Man City. So we could potentially be looking at that point if the worst case happens to Man City, that we'd be 14 points clear. At that point, I think 14 points is a lot of points. I think 11 points is a lot of points because it's not just 11 points, is it? It's 11 points plus Man City being perfect for the rest of the season. And I think this year, Man City haven't got the pace in their team to be consistently perfect for the whole season. I don't believe they've got the players around Haaland. If he doesn't score goals, that you can guarantee they're going to win games. And that's proven. That's been proven over the last kind of month. If Haaland don't score goals, Man City struggle a little bit at times. And how good Haaland is, how many goals he has brought to the team, he doesn't really, that's what all he is, isn't he? He's a goal scorer. And that's what he is. He's a goal scorer. He doesn't do what Gabriel Jesus does, where he basically runs here, there, and everywhere, and obviously can dribble the ball, can play people in, can pull people out to make other holes for other people. Haaland's pretty much specifically a goal scorer and a goal scorer only, and they've kind of not got the pace what they did have when they had players like him, players like Sterling, They haven't got that at the moment, so I really struggle to see how they're going to stay perfect for the rest of the season. So I don't think we'll. I think when you look at the away games, the tricky games now probably are Newcastle away. But I think we'll gain revenge from last season. I think we'll go there because we'll remember what happened there last season. I think that's a great bonus for us that's going to be in the back of our minds. I think Everton next week is going to be like that again. We're going to make a wrong right after what happened last year as well. And I look at the other game, Anfield, Liverpool. Well, Liverpool ain't the same Liverpool, are they? And if Chelsea are going there and getting a 0-0 draw, I think we'll go there quite confident. So I think we'll at least get a point there. My biggest worry is against teams like Aston Villa and that, the teams where we could just get a little bit complacent. They're the games that we need to just kind of put to bed straight away. Do you know what I mean? And just get them to bed. Don't hang on 1-0 like last time. I know we laugh about it, but do you know what I mean? It's them kind of games that worry me at the moment. I really think the big games, we've proven time after time this season that we're up for it. We went to Chelsea and won away. Beat Tottenham at home. Beat Tottenham away. Do you know what I mean? Beat Man United at home. Like, we've done it.
So I was going to say, because you mentioned that you worry about the little teams that are, with all due respect, the Aston Villas of this world. Do you think, though, having someone like Zinchenko, we've seen the video banging about when he was at City last game of the season from last year. Do you think someone like Zinchenko, and there's now statements going around, or quotes of what he's had to say when he walked through the doors when he came in at Arsenal last summer, that basically he said to the players in the team meeting and all that, one of his first meetings, like, we're not aiming just for top 3. We're aiming for the title. And they took a bit of a step back, with a bit of a giggle. But now he said now they believe. But we seen it yesterday as well in his celebration for the winning goal. He's off in the crowd, hugging the fans. He's then as it was eventually given in the middle of the pitch, giving it some as well, showing that passion. That mentality, that winning mentality, he's inherited obviously from Pep, ironically, in Man City. Surely that's what benefit us in the Villa games, things like that. Him being there, even if he's not playing, or even on the bench or whatever, him just being in and around the squad on the match day, keeping them going, saying the right things at the right time, just to keep them focused on what the job at hand is.
Yeah, like Zinchenko, like you ain't going to get another player like Zinchenko, are you? Like you can look high and low, but you're not going to get another player like him. And to be fair, when I was thinking about it yesterday, he was actually, when I think about it more and more, I think he was my man of the match yesterday. Like, did you see the amount of blade he covered, mate? Like, he was at left back, he was at left wing. There was even a point where he was at right side in midfield, right? But what he does superbly is, right? No one wants to play against Partey and Xhaka anyway. No one wants to play against Partey and Xhaka. That's a physical midfield. That's a physical but good technical midfield already, yeah, right? And then you've got Zinchenko coming into the midfield to make a 3, and then you've got Odegaard roaming to kind of make a 4. Teams just can't cope with it, mate. Honestly, teams just can't cope with it. And like this is why, yeah, right, we've gone to teams like Brighton that were kind of menaces to us for the last couple of years and stuck 4 past them. Because it doesn't matter what midfield you come up against, we're going to be better than your midfield. And that's going to happen for the rest of the season. And even against Man City, we're going to be better than Man City's midfielder at the Emirates, as long as we got all them 4 players fit. As long as we got Zinchenko, as long as we got Partey, as long as we got Xhaka, and as long as we got Odegaard fit, we're going to be better than their midfield because we've got that extra dimension. It's a big loss. It's a big loss for Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola knows more than anyone what Zinchenko offers. He knows exactly what Jesus offers. And I think he actually believes that Arsenal are going to win the Premier League this year. I don't think he's talking like riddles. I don't think he's talking rubbish. I actually believe that he thinks mentally that Arsenal are going to win the Premier League. And I think he realises that he probably hasn't got the team. And he certainly hasn't got the defence either. The defence is as ropey as anything. They're there to be got at. Man United's defence is probably better than Man City's.
Yeah. I mean,
look, the fullbacks are fullbacks, do you know what I mean? Like, I think Wan-Bissaka, like, he's a good one-on-one defender. He can't come forward, but I think you look at the fullbacks, Man City's fullbacks are better, but you look at the centre-backs, mate, at the moment, come on. Like, at this moment of time, yeah, right, Man City's defence is not in a really great place, and
No.
teams have been bagging 2 goals past them. Palace bagged 2 goals past them at their place. I think there's about 3 or 4 teams that have done it. Do you know what I mean? And you look at
Tottenham last week, Southampton in the cup.
Southampton in the cup. You look at that, right, and you sit there and you think, right, they're not just going to suddenly turn it on and start keeping clean sheet after clean sheet. And I think there's a lot of gaps there. I think Guardiola pretty much thinks Arsenal are going to win the Premier League this year.
Yeah, VX in the chat says a couple of comments. It was Zinchenko's a running pitbull, and he followed up with this. Zinchenko also went from being a bystander at City, part of the squad, to a start at Arsenal. And I think again, he's took that on as well, straight from the off. I mean, match day 1, we were singing songs about him, but obviously taking the song "Gold," taking gold out and putting Zinchenko in, and again showing that we're embracing him and that he is one of us now. And the fact there's interviews going around from when he was at, I think it was at City when he had the interview, but basically when he was at was it Shakhtar or whatever it was? I think it was at Shakhtar Donetsk, ironically. He was doing an interview as he's coming through the academy, and he was like, the interview was like, the person was asking him, who's the club you want to play for? Who's that? What's your dream club? Basically, he said Arsenal. Then the club came back to him and said, if you don't re-edit, come back and say what we've got, say Shakhtar instead of Arsenal, we're going to take your contract. So he's got that love for the club anyway when he came in, but it's gone to a tenfold now because of how we've embraced him, and we're seeing it every game. I mean, even when we started the season, we had a few injuries. He's out, coming out the stands and onto the technical area, having to go to the officials and getting letters for it. But yeah, I mean, that is, as I say, from BX, that is a valid point actually, that he was deemed as part of a squad player basically, where now he's one of the big guns, if not the big gun, because he has that know-how, he has that knowledge, and him and Jesus have helped take us to that next level. Yes, he is very good. He's very, very good. And it just goes to show that having that sort of playing, what him and Jesus, what that does to a team like Arsenal, where we were. I keep saying it, with none of us, any of us here on the stream or the people in the chat or the people listening, Arsenal fans listening to this back on the audio, will honestly say at the start of the season they believed this team could go for the title. We've gone for it a year early, and I said it last night. If anything, it makes this feel even more special because it's so unexpected. It's so out of the blue that and because of that, we get to not just enjoy it more, but appreciate it more, and just go with the flow and see what happens. I've been saying for the last few weeks on these podcasts, no matter what happens, win the title or not. If we don't win the title, worst case, we don't win the title, we come second. I believe that this club, the way they reacted from last season's pain, they'll come back and win it next season. Even if we do win it this season, I still believe that they'll come back and they'll want to better the points total. They'll want to better not just defending the title, but also adding another trophy to that, be a double or this, that, and the other, and just keep growing and being a pest to Pep, and basically being what Liverpool failed to do, even though they were a pest. The stats say 4 times out of 5, Man City had the better of them. So, and I think again we've seen Liverpool fans begging, twerking. When Liverpool fans are twerking for Man United to beat Arsenal, so-called rival, to beat Arsenal, you need to have a word with yourself. Are you that hurt that potentially Arsenal could do something at the first attempt, but it took you 2 attempts to do with this Man City side? And look, I'm just, as I say, I'm enjoying it, and everyone, all the pundits and all these rival fans want to keep writing us off. Feel free. You got idiots out there, Man United fans, going today, "Oh, the Zinchenko was offside. Look at this. I screenshotted it." The camera you're looking at is at an angle. Literally, I watched it live, and literally the angle we were given here in the UK, dead down the middle, he was way onside. And again, Wan-Bissaka played Eddie Nketiah way onside, like miles onside. There's no doubt about it. And just going on to Eddie now, is like that third goal. Obviously, Trossard, Martinelli goes off, Trossard comes on. He has an influence in the game in that final goal as well. Pass off to Zinchenko and all that in the first place. Just to get your thoughts on Trossard quickly, I mean, it didn't get a lot of minutes, but it was obviously, what was it, 10, 15 minutes, give or take, he got in the end. For a home debut in a high-pressure game, what it was as well. I mean, got to you, Conjan, for this. What was your thoughts on him? Obviously, again, as I say, it was a brief look at him, not a complete overall thing, was it?
No, I mean, if he was wearing a blue shirt and was Ukrainian, I mean, those 15 minutes can be celebrated because, I mean, that's the right way.
The blonde hair,
just saying, because, I mean, we only spent 20 million on him. He's only 28. He's not being touted as a Ballon d'Or winner, but all that nonsense aside, he looked really sharp. He looked like I think he fit the system because of the way Brighton have been playing under Potter and now under De Zerbi, and you just see the evolution, even as a player. Like whatever said and done, however, I think I can't remember the Japanese winger's name with Brighton, but. Right now, yes, he's on the spotlight. Ferguson, the 18-year-old, is scoring goals. So people are forgetting Trossard at Brighton, which deservingly so. It's an amazing team with an amazing recruitment policy. The boy looked great. He came on. He found the space. He was a threat. And if it wasn't for his pass to Zinchenko and Zinchenko to Odegaard and Odegaard to Nketiah, we wouldn't, and it was a different dynamic from Martinelli. Like even though he was taking up the left-hand side, Martinelli has a very different way of cutting in and playing the ball and maybe like dropping the shoulder. But with Trossard, he was cutting into the space. He was drifting more towards the center at some point. So I do see why we got him. I don't think he is the backup to Martinelli. I do believe that he's going to occupy different spots along the season. Eventually, I don't know, maybe this is just thinking a little too technical, but you can't even see him playing the Santi Cazorla role eventually. He's two-footed, he's got the pace, he's got the low center of gravity. So I do believe if they want to have a progressive style in the center, not with a double pivot, obviously. We don't play that anymore. But maybe if Partey's at the base where Xhaka is, you can actually see Trossard even taking up that spot. But I liked what I saw. I'll be very honest. I'm not jumping up and down about him by saying, he's the next best things in sliced bread, because that's been reserved for a certain number 15 who plays for a certain team. But he looks good. I think it's a shrewd signing. It's not the signing. I'll be very honest, and I know maybe a lot of Arsenal fans are not going to say this out loud. We losing Mudryk did affect me. It still affects me because everyone was like, "Yes, he's coming. It's a done deal." When you see what Instagram was, what his Instagram was looking like, and what the pundits were saying, what he was saying, Zinchenko, doing his thing, but it didn't work out because Todd Bowley doesn't understand money, and it's fine. I mean, it is what it is, but it did hurt. Having Trossard in doesn't relieve the pain, but it's just like it's good to have that extra body, because if we're going to go for this title, if we are going to win it, every single person with a very distinctive quality is going to make a difference. And Trossard looks the deal. He's come with the Premier League experience. He is experienced. He offers something different from Martinelli. He looks sharp. He looks dangerous, and where we will need him eventually is when we're a goal down and you want to get that goal in, send him on. He's going to cause chaos, and that's what you need. Martinelli doesn't operate too well off the bench, if you notice from history. He does well when he's starting. But this guy looked the real deal, and he got everyone excited. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, and just before I get on to Liam's thoughts on Trossard, Russ in the chat has said, I think Martinelli's been found out a bit. I don't think it's that he's been found out. I think it's more of a going to Qatar and then coming back so quickly. Maybe a bit of fatigue's kicking in. So again, with Trossard and Smith Rowe, obviously Smith Rowe coming back from injury, but anyone doesn't realise that, by the way. Gives us different options, but obviously I think there's a bit of fatigue with Martinelli. Maybe Friday rest. I think probably there's a good chance we might see him rested on Friday against Man City. I don't know if a bench or just a full night's rest or whatever. Save him for Everton, unleash him as a new animal, and give like a Smith for Trossard that option as a starter on that night. And whoever doesn't start comes off the bench in their place and see what happens basically. But I don't think it's been found out. It comes across like that. I think it's more the fatigue of the burst of how you started the season. Then you went all the way to the other side of the world to play a World Cup for his country, even though he didn't play much. Still it's a lot about jet lag, and then literally to fly back, and then literally a week, not even a week after being back in the country, he's playing friendlies for Arsenal before the season got back underway on Boxing Day. I think it's just more of the fatigue side of things more than anything else. And with Trossard now coming in and got Smith Rowe coming back from injury, we might now start seeing him a lot more rested, especially with the Open League coming back as well. Just rest him in certain games and give him that break when he basic needs. And I think in terms of the transfer window, we've signed this new defender tonight, or officially announced it anyway. I don't think that's it though. I think we will go and get ourselves a midfielder in. I do think we'll get another attacker in, either being an attacking midfielder or right winger, someone to take the pressure off Saka as well. Just again, because when it comes to the business end of the season, we don't want players fatiguing and injuries and things like that when we need them most. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. We've obviously got a few more days to go left, so see what happens there. But Liam, obviously, as I say, I've been keep saying you was at the game yesterday. You saw Trossard make not his full debut, but what was your impression, sort of what the brief minutes we got of him?
Yeah, well, he was involved in the winner, wasn't he? And he played the ball out to Zinchenko. Interesting one. I was going to ask you the question, or ask you both the question. Could they? I think that Trossard would be more of a player that Tierney would profit from, because as you see, and I agree with Kunjan in terms of what he said. When Trossard come on, and I was saying it before Martinelli went off, and I knew Martinelli would go off for Trossard, but Trossard's more the kind of player who's going to cut inside, and be more of an inside player. He reminds me a little bit he's going to be a bit like how Perez was as such. Do you know what I mean? Back in the day, obviously not to that level, but I thought when he come on, you notice Zinchenko kind of like with the goal, bombing down the wing more. And then I sat and I thought, do you know what? In an alternative game, like we'll probably see on Friday at Man City, it'd be interesting to see how Tierney plays with him, because I think Tierney could link up really well with him. And I think that might be another option for games if like Zinchenko's out and Tierney plays. Could he potentially then play Trossard instead of Martinelli? Because we know he's always had a bit of a doubt, hasn't he, around Tierney and Martinelli playing together. So I thought Trossard done really well when he came on for 10 minutes. If you look at his feet, unbelievable. If you look at that bit when he's in that box and he jinks past the free, but he don't just jink past the free, does he? He jinks past the free. He then nearly loses the ball, but he retrieves the ball and keeps the ball and plays us back into play for Nketiah to go down the line to the corner flag again. The lovely thing is that he's a Premier League player, so he knows the total expectation. He's matching Martinelli's goals at the moment, playing for Brighton. 7 goals from obviously that side. He can play up front. He can play on the left. He can play in a number 10 role. I think we could see him in a number of positions this year. Like if something happens to Nketiah now, for me, he goes up top. I think he will go up top. But I think on Russ's point of view, Martinelli has come back a bit quieter, but I think he's missing Jesus as well. You've got to remember, right? I think Jesus and Martinelli really, really link well together, and I think they cause havoc. And I think with Jesus not being there and not being able to do that kind of role, I think Martinelli's role's kind of changed a little bit with Eddie Nketiah, because Eddie Nketiah is in the box more. He's in the box, so Martinelli's got to play a little bit of a different game. So I think we've just got to be a bit mindful, because Nketiah's up top. Martinelli's probably playing a little bit of a different game to what he would do with Jesus up top.
Yeah, I mean, okay, before I couldn't answer that, I was just I was going to say now, in terms of that, you mentioned Jesus there. I don't know if you guys have seen, there's a clip going around on Twitter and all that of Jesus talking to someone and saying, "About 4 to 5 weeks, I'll be back." So maybe the situation we'll see once Jesus does come back. But that's good to hear from the man himself say about 4 to 5 weeks, give or take, as it stands. Obviously, hoping nothing goes wrong and he's rehabbing all that. But I'll let, in terms of what Liam had to ask, I'll let you answer that, Kunjan, as well first.
Sorry, repeat the question there, Ryan, because I didn't catch the question.
Basically, in terms of Trossard, would he be more suited for Tierney, basically? Because
Yeah.
Obviously, Zinchenko bombing down the left-hand side, and we all know Tierney does have to overlap and bomb down the left and get across in.
I even do believe that. I think Liam mentioned about the positional play in certain positions, and you mentioned Emil Smith-Rowe. If Emil Smith-Rowe starts on the left, Trossard can slot into the right so seamlessly because he's two-footed. So even if you have a Smith-Rowe who has, who carries the ball forward, and you have Tierney slotting into that position, that also works perfectly well. I agree with the whole Martinelli, Tierney not exactly having that fluid connection. And that's why when we saw with Zinchenko yesterday, where he's floating off to the right, he's dropping into the center, it helps when you have that kind of fluidity as a player. Odegaard, when we see Odegaard, many times a lot of people say he goes missing. He doesn't go missing. It's just that he's filling up spaces where someone is supposed to be, and Odegaard is taking up that space. Even when Trossard was playing yesterday, you could see that he was making the triangles very intentionally just so that the ball can progress into the box. I think having a Tierney, having a Trossard would help, because I do believe Trossard will not be hugging the touchline, and Tierney does like that. Tierney likes hugging the touchline, likes carrying the ball forward, whipping across in. And I think that's where maybe when we were like linked with Dusan Vlahovic, that's something where Tierney would really progress from. Even if you do watch Martinelli now, when he has the ball and he tries to cut the defender, he's looking for a cross. He's looking for a ball to play in. It's just not aerial. It's more grounded. So I think, it's going to be interesting what lineup we do go with against City for the FA Cup, because we have to keep in mind we are right now challenging for the title, for the Premier League title. We cannot sit here and prioritize the FA Cup for the Premier League title. And when we speak of like Gary Neville, I want to bring up a statement he said just before the season started, where he thumped his chest and he said that we're not going to make it to the top four. And I'm not being funny about this, I'm being genuine about this. And we have to understand the fact that Gary Neville is now talking about us not winning the Premier League just goes to show how wrong he was about the top four. So there is an evolution. We have proved everyone wrong. If you go back to early of the season, just before it kicked off, I think very few people may have put us in the top four. Some even wrote us off in the top six. So there has been a very progressive evolution in the team. And right now, I think if this becomes a Liverpool season with 97 points and yet we don't win, I think we have to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves up, move on forward. And these little pieces, be it the Polish centre-back who could even be playing as a defensive midfielder, I don't know, getting Trossard in because we didn't get Mudryk, looking into the summer where the big investments are going to be done, be it Declan Rice or whoever it is. These are those little pieces that now is not just for the title, It's even for the Champions League. I can see a pattern. I think Arteta has a plan, Edu has a plan, the board has a plan, and I come back to the FA Cup by saying, if I'm Arteta, I would put out a good squad, but not a squad where one injury down, you're thinking, shit, I have Everton in a few days. Would I be able to cope with it? So having a Trossard, having a Tierney would be a welcome addition. Even on the right side, we don't have a perfect replacement for Saka or a backup to Saka. I think maybe Fabio Vieira, but then again, who'd play the number 10 role? So it'll be quite interesting how the balance out is. But yeah, coming back to what Liam said about Tierney and Trossard, I think it's a perfect match. So I think these are small little pieces that will come together very well in the games to come.
Oh, yeah, talking the FA Cup, how many changes do you reckon will be made whilst the phone's going off in the background? How many changes do you think will be made in this game in the background as well? Do you think, I personally, don't go with too strong up, but still a good enough lineup to try and get a result? Where do you stand on Partey? That's the main one. Partey starting. I'm not.
No
I'm
way.
on the Everton, no, maybe not.
No way.
Everton.
No way.
But in terms of I think goalkeeper will be Matt Turner in goal, and then the back four will be like Tomiyasu, Holding, and either Gabriel or Saliba alongside him, and Tierney with Trossard possibly making his full debut down on that left-hand side, and then obviously I don't know. Midfield is a weird one because we've got El Neni. We don't know what's happening with him, if he's injured, injured, or it's just a little precaution or whatever.
They could start the new Polish guy, because he does play a defensive midfielder's role. Yeah. Maybe even put Ben White there. Could be a possibility as a holding midfielder.
But in terms of the attack, obviously I mentioned Trossard. Who else? Obviously Eddie more likely will start because he's the only other striker we've got at the moment. If Trossard's down the wing, do you start Odegaard? Do you put Smith Rowe in instead? Or obviously Saka, what would you do about that? Because obviously he's out right winger as well. Because Nelson's out injured.
I think he'll play Saka. I think he'll play Saka, Smith Rowe, Trossard, and Ketia. The midfield, I think he'll play Xhaka as well. I think you'll probably see I don't want to see any Lokonga anymore, mate. Honestly, he needs a loan. He needs a loan move ASAP. But at the end of the day, I ain't risking Partey for love or money. If we lose Partey because of an FA Cup game, every fan's going to kick off. Why did we do it? And we don't need to do it. We don't need to win the FA Cup. I'd love to win the FA Cup again. It's our trophy. But we don't need to win the FA Cup this year. What we need to do is win the Premier League. And
build the squad and then go again.
Yeah. And Thomas Partey can only, for me, play in the Premier League. Even in Europa, unless we get to the semi-finals, I wouldn't even be considering Thomas Partey playing. El Neni can do a job in the Europa. If he's fit on Friday, El Neni can do a job in the FA Cup. Do you know what I mean? But you don't play Thomas Partey unless it becomes a game that a UEFA Cup semi-final. Maybe so. If it's a massive game, if it's a Barcelona or something, I don't know. But even then, you want to win the Premier League, don't you? You need to prioritise Thomas Partey in the Premier League.
Yeah, and just I've got a question that's been going around as well. I've seen on socials and on the media side of things as well. Yesterday after the game, Haaland was brought in for Champions League and this, that, and the other. So the question is, who out of Pep and Arteta? Obviously, Pep wants a Champions League. He's desperate for it. Arteta is going for a Premier League title. He's not desperate for it, but obviously we're going for it. Who and at what point does first part of the question is who puts all the eggs in the basket first of the Champions League or Premier League respectively, and what's the other part, and when do they do that?
It works out pretty well for Pep, don't it? If we want, to be honest, let's be honest, we want Man City to be in the Champions League final. We want them to be in the Champions League final because we want them to have to play every single game now. Yeah, right. The worst thing that could ever happen to us is Man City go to the Champions League. I'm more happy for them to win the Champions League. Do you know what I mean? As long as that keeps them in it all the way, because Pep has already said, yeah, right. And I've said it before. I think he actually believes that Arsenal are going to win the Premier League. I actually think he believes that, but I think in his head he's thinking we're going out for the Champions League this year. This club wants Champions League. This club's had four Premier Leagues in 5. That's not their priority. Their priority is the Champions League. So this season works out beautifully in our favour in terms of obviously Man City being in the Champions League. It works out beautifully that Man United are out of the title race now. And I think when it gets to March, we just continue playing our second string in the UEFA. We get knocked out, we get knocked out. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not the be all end all. Obviously, we want to win the UEFA, and I get it totally. Everyone wants to win UEFA, and I want to win the UEFA. We need to do something in Europe. But at the end of the day, they need to prioritise Europe. We don't.
John?
I think we forget one thing. I think the pressure's on us. I think what everyone is speaking about, that mentality, the pressure is on Arsenal to win the title. It's not on City to catch us. I think City's priority must be Champions League with the way Haaland is playing, with the squad they have right now. I think Champions League is their priority, but they're not under pressure for the league. And that's why when you see Newcastle, you see Manchester United, I think everyone is in the race because everyone is in that bracket of Arsenal are going to capitulate, and the minute they do, we pounce on it. I think March is a perfect guideline to see where everyone stands. And again, if I was to be asked what our priority must be, it has to be the title. We're in a good position. Add on to that position. Sure, go play your Europa Leagues, go play your FA Cups. See if you manage to get to a good enough position, but put all your focus only on the league. Because even if you don't win it, you're going to hit the bare minimum of top 4. So I think we as Arsenal fans will walk out there, as you said, dust yourself off, onto the next. Get your Declan Rices in, get your world-class strikers in, whatever it is. Get the group together, go and compete. Because I think this is what we must focus on. Let's try and win it this year. Let's try to win it this year. We're in a good enough position. Let's say we were 1 point behind City. I would say, you know what, let's focus on top 4, but also let's try and win a trophy just to balance it out. But City have the pressure of Champions League, but they don't have the pressure of the title. Liam said it very correctly. 4 titles in 5 years. It's insane. It's an amazing achievement. I don't think they're looking at the title right now. Yes, for the ego, for the glory, maybe, but it's not their priority.
Well, that's what I think where Liam references Pep from after last week's Tottenham game, when Man City played Tottenham, sorry. He was in the press conferences afterwards saying, it just feels like my players don't have that fire anymore in their stomachs for the Premier League and this, that, and the other. And if they don't, we're going to drop more points on Arsenal. We'll win the league because they have that fire, because they haven't been there before. They have that fire, that desire, that passion to be part of something historic. We've been there, and these players are now, most of, obviously apart from Arnold, obviously, the majority of this squad's had that, and it's like, what's new, basically. And as I say, he's so, we mentioned it every season now. It's become a bit of a running joke that he's so desperate to win a Champions League outside of when he won it in Barcelona, because it's the pressure on him, and especially with the money he's spent since he's walked through the door at Man City. Let's not get it twisted. We've spent money in the last 3 years since Arteta has come in to get us to this point. Don't get me wrong, but still nowhere near the levels of what he spent in his first 3 years to get them to where they were. To then even then, he still added and added and added. So the money they've spent, they should be getting to Champions League finals. They should be winning the Champions League. Let's be honest with that. Like PSG, they should be getting to PSG. Is the same argument there for them. And I think it's got to a point where the fans, what are the Man City fans are we've won the title. Yeah, we've been through the league, like the ones that are properly there that have been there from day dot before the money came in. They won the lottery. Yeah, we'll win League Two. We've been to Grimsby away, and this, that, and the other. And it's fantastic. We've won these FA Cups, these league titles, and all that. But we're bored of it now. We want the big. Well, we want, even though we don't like the competition, we want to win it. And that again, you sort of see that with the. As I say, I think Pep has a point that the players in general aren't really focused on the Premier League because they're like, well, we've done this before. It'll come to us. If we don't win it this year, we'll come back and do it next year. Sort of that mentality. Sort of whatever. It is what it is. We've won it already. It's not. There's nothing new to us. It's not fresh and special to us anymore. Whereas a Champions League title would be. So, yeah, I get what Kunjan says. The pressure is on us now because not only are we top of the league by 5 points and got the game in hand over City respectively, but they don't have the pressure because they've been there because they've been there and done it for the last 4 out of 5 years, and they've got this squad that they do have. And they are focused on the Champions League now. It's like the pressure's taken off them because of obviously, as you say, they've been there. It's now focused on that. So the pressure's more on them winning the Champions League than it is to win the league now when it comes to the media and obviously us rival fans alike. And well, so far, I can't really say we would ask that would have played stand up to take the pressure because I've taken it so far. That, as I say, I keep halfway up start of this podcast was. How can I put it? 8 points clear after Sunday's game against North, them not down the road, and then literally before we even kick a ball, we're going from 8 points clear to 2 points clear because Man City have had to play 2 games and won them both because Tottenham and Tottenham, and yeah, there's nothing go there with that one. And the pressure that would have been because it was literally just the whistle went just before we were coming out as well for the actual kickoff, so. The pressure would have been put on them players, knowing that result, knowing that they're literally on our necks now if we don't get the result tonight. And they stepped up. And again, in the game, we keep going over it. In the game, it wasn't just one moment of adversity. It was twice. We had 2 moments of adversity where goals happened by our own mistakes, but we dusted ourselves down. We went again. We got over the line. And that was the main thing. We're finding ways. We're not, in terms of like referring to Fabregas, was obviously Cesc Fabregas was doing the punditry for Sky. He referred to his era, his team in the early years of the Emirates. He was like, in my time, we don't do what Arsenal did tonight. In the last 20, 30 minutes when we're pinning a team in their half. I mean, if it's not going our way, we start panicking, just launching the ball left, right, and centre. Another thing we haven't really touched on is after going 3-2 up yesterday for the injury time, the game management. Our game management has improved massively this season. It was shown again last night. And he says we didn't do that. We just went gun ho. It was like even with if we're 3-2 up, and we've just scored a winning goal, a potential winning goal, instead of just seeing the game out, we go gun ho, try and get the fourth, and sometimes it would cost us. Whereas obviously this team that we're seeing now aren't doing that. They're getting the lead and they're going, okay, no matter, especially in that sort of game, that high pressure, we're going, okay, we've got the result. Eddie gets the ball. He's trying to hold it in the corner. He's trying to contain and frustrate the opponents, but keep the ball away from obviously our defensive side of things. And yeah, again, as I say, there's been massive improvement. And week by week, we're seeing it even more and more and more. And I was like, the gist of it is, I've started to believe in the last week or so. I've started to believe that we are going to do this in terms of winning the title. I'm still holding off fully. I'm half up, 1 foot in at the moment. I'm still holding off fully. I've said to many people since yesterday, if come the 4-time whistle against Man City at home on February the 15th, and we either draw or win that game. We draw and we keep it 5 points. It's still a 5 point gap. But we win, it's an 8 point gap, and we've still got a game in hand over them against Everton. At home, by the way, that game is as well. The game in hand we've got. I will be fully 2 feet in it, and I'll be championing this team to go and get the job done. hopefully before April, because April's absolutely. I've seen the fixtures of April. I'm not liking the fixtures of April. If we can get the job done in terms of winning the title before we play Man City again, and I think I'll double check now, and it's around April, going into the last 6 games of the season, literally like the 6th to last game on the 23rd, I believe it is. I'm just double checking now. Bear with me a moment while I get the fixtures up on my screen. But if we can get it done before that, would be fantastic, obviously, because it takes a lot of pressure off that game then. But you never know. But I'm just going through the fixtures now on the... Is it May, is it? What is it, May? Yeah, April 26th is the away game against... If we can get it... Yeah. So Wednesday, 26th of April, 8 o'clock at the Etihad. Again, I said this last night, a bit of a weird one, being a big game like that on the Wednesday midweek, but it is what it is. If we can win the title, if we do win this title, we can do it before Man City. It takes a lot of pressure off, and also they have to give us a God of Honour. Obviously, that'd be even better. Pep having to get his team out there and himself, giving Arteta and this team a God of Honour, and then Mudryk will have to do the next game in 3 days. It'd be brilliant. And just again, referring back to what Gary says, you can see the drop. I'm not just looking through the fixtures now, league-wise. I'm just focusing on the league before we start wrapping things up here. Just going to go up to date, so bear with me a second. So our next league game is Everton away. They've just sacked Lampard. Then either a new manager comes in. There's no guarantee with the squad the way the team's been playing. They're going to get a new manager's bounce. We saw it last season when Lampard actually came in. They didn't really get a new manager bounce with Lampard in the first place. So, and they may not even have a manager by then. I don't even think Duncan Ferguson's at Everton anymore to take caretaker charge. So for me, there's 3 points there. Brentford at home. Our home form, the best home form in the league. I can't see us not winning that game at Brentford, even though Brentford are doing well at the moment. I do think we'll win that game. Obviously, as I say, February 15th is for me the game where if we win that or draw, as long as we don't lose that game, come the full-time whistle, I will then go balls in and say with chest, my team's going to win the title not on the day itself, as in we haven't won it, but I will believe and I will go with chest saying this team's going to win the title. Because then after that, we've got 2 away games in the league. Aston Villa on the 18th at 12:30 kickoff. And 12:30 Villa away. What can go wrong, Liam? If you know, you know. Then we got.
Not looking forward to that game. That's one of the games I've got penciled. I'm not looking forward to, just because it's the whole Unai Emery thing. Aston Villa, I think.
I get what you're saying. I just think with that, I think that's why the first is like Zinchenko and Jesus and all that. Like,
yeah,
especially Zinchenko playing or not, he will be there in the changing room. He will have them knowing the task, switch off from the Unai Emery bullshit, and just do your job. Basically, you can be a part of history. We've seen the video going about for the last few weeks, actually, from again half time against Villa last season. The last game of last season, that's going about. So, seeing that, I get what you're saying. Obviously, Unai Emery and all that, but I think if we didn't have someone like Zinchenko and Jesus in our squad, then I'll be up with you on that side of things. Like 100%, I'll be like, yeah, that's the game. Unai Emery, because we were there before with Unai Emery with Villarreal. We don't want to up in there, but I just think with the squad where it is now, with the players we have. The leaders we have, that's the key thing. We've got leaders, not a leader. We've got leaders. I know we keep harping on about Zinchenko, but there's many more now. We've got Zinchenko, we've got Partey, we've got Xhaka, Jesus. I mean, the fact that Jesus comes in straight, he comes in the summer. He's named vice captain alongside Xhaka. You've got Odegaard, even though he's not vocal on the pitch, he still leads by example. Let's go. Yeah, so we've got after Villa, we've got Leicester City away at the King Power, and then we've got Bournemouth at home. Win. That's a win for me. Fulham away, Craven Cottage, London Derby. Again, we should win that on paper, but we'll see how things go by then. My point is, I'm going through these pictures. I'm trying to find where Gary Neville thinks that we're going to drop off. Crystal Palace at home. I think we win that. Leeds United at home. I think we win that. Liverpool away might drop points, but I don't think we'll lose. Based on I don't. By then in the league,
The other good thing about Liverpool is as well,
they won't have anything to fight for.
well, mate, they're not good. They're not as good as what they were last year. But you got to remember, they're still going to go all out for Champions League, and they're still in Champions League. So if they get through to the quarters or semis, mate, and we've got them around that time, they're going to rest players for the Champions League. So hopefully we get them out for one of them weekends.
Yeah, that's true as well. Stefan, that's got me back in the comments. Is it's not going to be over until it's over. City are capable going. They are capable. We've seen it the last few years. They are capable of going on these runs, but from what I'm seeing this season from City, I can't see it happening. Honestly, that's not just me because me as an Arsenal fan saying it because my team's in within the chance of winning a title here. It's me being an honest football fan here saying I genuinely cannot see City going on a 10, 15 game run now between now and the end of the season, where in the meantime, whilst they're doing that, we're going to got as many points along the way. As I say, as it stands, assuming we beat Everton and Brentford going into that City game, depending on what they do in their games, assuming they win their 2 games before going as well, there's a 5-point gap. If we beat City at home, it's an 8-point gap, and we have a game in hand against Everton at home. Whenever that maybe be scheduled, FA get your headache afters on that, please, because that should have been done first before the City game, in my opinion. But it is what it is. If we could, after that City game, if we obviously assuming we do, I'm talking hypothetically, if we do win that, we have that 8-point gap, and we continue to have that 8-point gap at the very least going into that Everton game in hand at home, and we win that's 11 points. I can't see an 11-point swing at that point then happening to benefit City. And like we've mentioned, they're desperate for Champions League, and it's in our interest for them to stay in the Champions League as long as possible. Like Liverpool, we just mentioned there. It benefits us, if anything, because they've got to go full strength on the Tuesday or Wednesday, whilst going full, and then keep hoping they don't get injuries along the way and suspensions for their league games and cup games, depending on how far they go in the FA Cup, assuming they knock us out on Friday or whatever. So yeah, it's as I say, my whole point going through the fixtures was I don't see at this moment in time, based on how we've done this season so far to this point, we are officially at the halfway point in our fixtures anyway. I can't see us suddenly going on a mad run in a negative sense where it benefits Man City, and that's my whole point. And that it, as I say, even though I can't stand going. I don't really want to pay attention to him, but it does irk me that even now at the halfway point, we've got 50 points out of a possible. Was it 50 points out of 50? Well, he dropped 7 points, haven't we? So 57. I think now, no. We dropped 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 points. So 50 points out of 58, and we're still not getting any credit that we really are meriting based on the form. We've drawn 2 games this season against Southampton and Newcastle away and home respectively, 1-1 and 0-0 respectively. There, we did lose to United again. And another day, if we don't switch off for 5 minutes, we win that game. And at this moment in time, in that case, we'd be unbeaten still at this point, and the people losing their minds. And you know, and start comparing the Invincibles and things like that, and don't do that because that's not the way to go. But it's just give us our credit, please. Just give our instead of digging out, like Liam says, this agenda against Arteta at the start of the stream we mentioned. Instead of digging him out for running up and down the touchline in his dugout or briefly stepping outside of his dugout briefly for a brief second by accident. Focus on the fact of the job that he's doing. Yes, we spent a lot of money to get to this point. Still nowhere near what Liverpool and City have spent. Let's be honest here. Let's get that straight first. But to get us to this point is unbelievable. Let's be honest. Where the club has been for the last how many years, how we fell off like we did last year. No one expected this. Give the guy the credit he deserves. For me, as it stands, even if Arsenal do not win the title, based on how things have gone this season, Arteta has to win manager of the year, the manager of the year award. He won't because he has to win a title for that apparently nowadays, but he should no matter what because of what he's done. The amount of manager of the month awards he's winning this season, he could break records of that the way things are going. But it just seems it's fashionable, like Mick Richard says. When it comes to Arsenal, if they're doing something positive or negative, if it's a positive, they're trying to find a negative out of it. If it's negative, they make it even more of a negative than anything else. But if someone else does that, like Kumjan mentioned about Mudryk, if he signed for us, he gets a 50-minute cameo. Yeah, it's like you say, he's like, yeah, he's all right, but I think they overpaid. But because it's for Chelsea, oh, he's fantastic. What a signing. World class, given the Ballon d'Or already. Who's Messi, this, that, and the other. And I'm just, as an Arsenal fan, even though I say things like last night, I'm like, you know what, keep undermining us, keep having us, keep doubting us and things like that, and we'll just keep going on our merry way. At the same time, I sort of want my team and our manager to get the credit they deserve and they merit at this point. Is that so much to ask for from the media? And I know they clearly don't like us, but just don't be so obvious. It's so obvious now because they're looking for any and every way to just be nitpicky at things. It's like, why being nitpicky? We're playing great football. We're top of the league on merit, not just by luck or anything like that, on merit, by our own performances. And then this is the youngest team in the league. And again, going back to Arteta being manager of the year, he's doing something with the youngest team in the league that shouldn't be possible when you're seeing the sort of money that Man City have spent on Haaland, for crying out loud, let alone the entire squad over the last decade or whatever. But I don't know. It's just I'm just going around in circles now. But it just aggs me sometimes. And anyone else does it. It's a pastoral bit to bash us over the head.
Do you know what I kind of think? Right, it's interesting. It's interesting the influence. Like, I was watching that game last week, Tottenham Arsenal, even after, and these commentators, because nowadays they're so in for their club, like Gary Neville's obviously in for Man United. Any kind of edge they can get or be persuasion, they'll try and persuade. Like, even if they just mention it on air. So when Ramsdale goes over to Tottenham the week before last, he's straight on it, isn't he? Any reason to make something kind of controversial, try and get a ban, try and get this, because then that supports his team, don't it? There's so much bias nowadays within like TV and all that, and within the commentators and all that kind of stuff. Like, I personally don't think, right, if Arsenal play Man United, I don't think an Arsenal man should be commentating it, and I don't think a Man United man should be commentating it. I think it should be someone down the middle who's partial, who's impartial to all, who will call the game left, right, and centre. But there's been so many times there where I see it, where I actually do think that their bias does influence decisions higher up. Because the FA kind of watch this, don't they, straight away? Who says when VAR are on it? Like, then they hear in the commentary as well.
Yeah.
Like, I just think like, I don't like it when certain players are basically commentating. I don't think they should be commentating on their own teams. I really, really don't. I'm so biased yesterday. When Man United scored, mate, you could hear him kind of celebrating in the background. When Arsenal scored, he's totally quiet, isn't he? But that's Sky for you, isn't it? That's Sky for you. I think Sky are pretty bad at it as well, to be honest. But I do think a lot of people do want Arsenal to win the league this year. Interestingly, though, I've just spoke to a Man United man was messaging me, and he still wants Man City to win the league. And that just tells you it all, don't it, really? That you Man United fans want Man City to win the league. Because we've been in their heads for 20 years and we're still in their heads now, unfortunately. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, but you ain't going to win it. So you'd rather your main rivals win it, but I suppose that's because most of you live in London. So you don't really know no Man City fans. To be totally honest, that's what it is, isn't it? Like, we all know Manchester's based, most of Manchester's based with Man City supporters. And obviously Man United's more out of Manchester. But yeah, I do think that quite a few people do want Arsenal to win it. But what I think people are too scared to say at the moment. I think people obviously are going back to like kind of last year. Have Arsenal got this 3-game ricket in them when they can lose to Crystal Palace, Brighton, Southampton in the 3-game row? Injuries do concern me, because if Thomas Partey does get injured, then we start thinking differently, don't we? Like, we're very much our first 11. If they stay fit the whole season, I think all 3 of us would sit here and say we'll probably win the league.
Yeah.
If our 11 stays fit all season, we'll win the league. But if you lose a Saka at the moment, or I'm not like, even Odegaard, like he's a captain, even a Xhaka, every single player has got his role in this team, and we've been pretty lucky with injuries at the moment. And I just think that if we stay lucky with injuries, I think I'm pretty confident we'll go and win it. But if we do get an injury, Thomas Partey, as such, even a Granit Xhaka, it becomes harder. And then the away games become harder. I'm pretty comfortable we'll win most of our home games now, because if you look at it, we've got our 2 big rivals out of the way, Tottenham and Manchester United. Okay, we'll have Man City out of the way by 15. Maybe we'll get a positive result there. But I believe we'll win probably virtually nearly every home game to the end of the season, because I think we're that comfortable at home. But I actually think, and this is a strange thing, I'm going to say this, with this 11, I think we're even more lethal away from home, because teams can't sit back. Teams don't sit as a low block at home. So, we, as you say, at Brighton, we go 3-4-0 up. Do you know what I mean? At Tottenham, we're 2-0 up at half time, because our team would just go and rip teams away from home. So, as long as we keep them 11 fit, I think we're all right. If we start losing a Partey or a Xhaka, though, I ain't going to lie, I do worry about some of the away games still. But that's only reason.
No, that's fine. No problem. Bring Kunja in and get your thoughts when we start wrapping things up on what Liam just said.
I think everyone's just going on and on about the same thing, that we will not win because of depth, which I think is being addressed a little bit in January. Having Trossard in, having the Polish centre-back who could even play centre midfield. The window's not closed yet. Maybe 1, maybe 2 more additions, maybe firm up a few things. But based on what we're hearing, I think summer is when the big ones will start coming in. And that's the time. Yes, and that's the time we'll see an evolution of the squad, where if hypothetically we have a Declan Rice, we're not going to worry if something happens to Partey. We'll actually be We'll be arguing, no, I think we should have Rice. No, I think we should have Partey. And that's the position you want to be in. Look at Man City's squad right now. You have a Rodri, and you have a Calvin Phillips sitting on the bench. You have a Mahrez. You have an Alvarez who comes off the bench. You have a Foden. You have a Grealish. £100 million signing sitting on the bench. And that's I would love to be that spoiled. When we speak about the squad depth, we speak about the age of the squad. We have to give the flowers to the team. We have to give the credit to the team that, despite not having a very large squad, despite not having, like, there is a gap between the starters and the people on the bench, and yet you're at the current moment 5 points ahead of the champions. You're miles ahead of Liverpool, who everyone has been sucking off by saying that this is for sure the second team. And like Newcastle with their investment, Manchester United in their first season to get the kind of backing they did, Eric Ten Hag, the kind of backing he did. Arteta didn't get that for the first season, but that's not the comparison I'm trying to get at. I'm just trying to say we have a very good squad. It will get better. The squad is going to do some great things, and I'm very sure of that. If this season we win the Premier League, it's nothing short of a miracle, and it's something we must celebrate for years on out. But great things are on the horizon, and I'm pretty sure of that. I think every Arsenal fan knows that right now.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, that's why I've been hopping on for the last few episodes of this podcast, saying like, no matter what happens in terms of the worst case we don't win it, but I believe it with how reactions have gone so far, they'll dust themselves down, go again, strengthen, go again, and go that one step further because they've installed that belief in me now, and that's the major thing that we haven't had for God knows how long. Let's be honest on that side of things. But I look forward to it, and I'm excited. And then I'm not saying like we got any divine right in this, that, and the other to be walking this title or anything like that. I'm just saying at this moment in time, based on the form, unless, as you say, injuries to Partey or Zinchenko or Tierney or Xhaka or Saliba or whoever, unless we had 2 or 3 at the same time, I can't see us, for me, going on a negative run, so we say, to allow them to overtake us and walk away with it, like that Gary Neville hopes for, apparently.
It's good that we played like Man United and Tottenham straight away in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Because if we do get an injury to Partey, like we've got rid of 2 of the games that you wouldn't like. I hope obviously Man City as well in February 15. I know it's for the first game, but you've already got rid of like. You think there's 2 games in the second half of the season are probably our biggest rival games, Tottenham and Man United, and we're out of that situation now. So.
Yeah. I always said even before the World Cup, and I was looking at this. I was looking at this month, and I was thinking, and I said on this channel that if we came out of this, if we come to 4-time whistle against United, if we're still in the top 2, that for me tells me I'll go with Chest. I'll go with Chest now. In terms of the top 2, I think we'll be the top 2. The top 2 as it is.
Yeah,
I don't know what way, but us doing what we've done, putting out was it 11-point gap now between us and United in 3rd and wherever they are now. I just think it's going to be duked out now between us and City, obviously. But obviously at the time you look at it and you're thinking, if we can maintain this up to that point, then you start believing. And obviously I start believing in us winning it. But yeah, I'm convinced that Champions League, we're in the Champions League next season. It's just a matter of if we win a title, come second now. That's the it's a good position to be in one sense because we haven't had that for so long. And because it was out of the blue this season, we get to appreciate and enjoy it that bit more because we wasn't expecting it. Unlike if it had been next season when we possibly would have been asking for it. Whereas now we weren't asking for it. It was just like top. Okay, fantastic. It's now, and as I say, we keep talking about giving the flowers and all that to the team. It can only get better no matter what. After this season can only get better for this team, for this club. And it's an exciting time to be an Arsenal fan, an Arsenal player, or whoever around the club, because of what is being built. And it doesn't look like the owners especially are showing any signs of slowing down now. They've got the rocket up the arse after the Super League debacle, and it doesn't look. As I say, it doesn't look like they're going to take their foot off the gas. They are going to continuously back the manager. But the one thing I will say, if we do win the league this season, don't stop. Please don't do what the Liverpool owners have done and rest on your laurels. Keep plugging away, building the squad. Be it one player here, one player there, still just keep it ticking over. Don't get comfortable with what we have because eventually you'll get what Liverpool have got, and then we're back to square one again. And we don't want that again, please. We had to wait 19 years to get to this point. I want more days. I want more days and seasons of this. Not just we have a few seasons and we'll take because we took our foot off the gas, it'll go away again. The Cronkies have to maintain this support to Arteta for the longest he's here. And if he does either step down himself and move on to a new project, whoever comes in after him, you back them and you continue to build what we're building now. Don't just take your foot off the gas, because that's the worst thing. We've seen at Liverpool now. That's the worst thing to do because they're trying to play catch up. They've been caught out. They're playing catch up, and they're trying to throw money and hope it sticks now. With Cody Gakpo coming in, Darwin Nunez back in the summer. Signings that don't make sense. There's just like, no, well, we've got money, there you go. It's just like, and then you got a manager in the process who's just like, well, I've built to this point, and now I'm having to rebuild, but I don't know if I can or not. So I don't want that to come back. Like I say about you, Sir Alex left, and how Man United have gone about things since he's left, and all in terms of the hiring, firing, not having that success, not backing the manager, this, that, and the other. When Wenger stepped down, I said we need to learn. Just because because Man United dealt with it badly doesn't mean we have to deal with it badly. And touch wood, we've actually took note of what they did wrong, and we're having a positive outcome on it because we are, unlike them, in a title race. They're 10 years now since he left, maybe long. I don't know how long it's been now since he actually retired of Alex, but I can't say at any point they've been genuinely in a title race. Sorry, since he's retired, since Wenger's left in 2018, within 4.5 years, we're now in a title race, and we're excited. The club is united, the fans are united, and you can't ask for much more than that. It's sort of, and I said this last week, it's sort of an us against them mentality that's being built at this club because of how we're being treated, so I say, and long may it continue. But at the same time, as I say that, I do want my manager and his players to get the credit and the flowers that they deserve at this point to be doing what they're doing. It's incredible. But we've got going on near an hour and 46 minutes now. I will be wrapping things up now. I want to say obviously a massive thank you to Kunjan and Liam for joining me today for this week's podcast. Hopefully, I'll see them again soon for future podcasts and others live streams we'll be doing on the channel. Everyone in there, all the regulars and all that, thanks again for coming along, putting your input into the chat, into the podcast as well. All to the viewers as well. If you listen to this on Spotify, do give us your feedback on Spotify. I'll be getting it. You got that option now, so you do get that back. I do get that, and I will use that to better the podcast going forward. You can also give us a 5-star rating if you want to, and helps the algorithm of Spotify and other audio platforms to get it out there even more, etc., and it helps us grow as a podcast as well. The audio for this actually will be out in the next half hour after this stream ends. I'm now. What time is it now? Actually, come on for 9 o'clock. So we're going on to watch the second half. Hopefully, I'm done over what the score for Fulham is actually, but I'll see what's happening there and see if Fulham can do us a favour today and make us even happier for putting them not in a spliff. But yeah, in terms of the rest of the week, as I said, I'll be back. As I said yesterday, I'll be back on Thursday for the the Arsenal Women's League Cup match against Aston Villa. Jordan Nobbs is playing. Will probably start in that game as well. No luck. I'll be covering that game on Thursday, and then the FA Cup on Friday, 8 o'clock. Obviously in the UK, ITV, Man City, Arsenal. What can go wrong under the lights? You know what? I think it must be mentioned by Kunjan and all that. You know what? We're in the title race, so I can't believe I'm saying this, but you know what? Just sacrifice it for the greater good. Sacrifice the cup for this season and go. If we do win a title, we can come back next season, defend the title, and win the FA Cup. And we're our first club win 21 years, maybe. You never know. But yeah, Liam, what have you got coming up in your channel, by the way, rest of the week? Any shows planned?
Well, it depends how I'm feeling, but yeah, I'm supposed to have my own show this week. Was potentially tomorrow, but I don't know now. But if I don't, I'll probably will be around Friday for the Man City.
Yeah.
So, but I won't. I'm literally coming back from Milton Keynes, so I'll just send me the link and I'll jump on when I can.
Yeah, that's no problem.
I'll watch that. I'm going to be watching upstairs, so yeah, I'll jump on for that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and then looking forward to the Everton game. I'll be on for that as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, back to work. Yeah, no comms, back to back away games, so that's cool. Yeah, that's no problem. And so I think now, Kunjan, when you around for next week's podcast?
Yeah, I'm game, and I'm around here.
Because I know your time difference.
Yes, the only issue the time
late
difference.
So hence why I'm trying to wrap things up because not 2 hours. I know you need your beauty sleep. You got early starting and work and all that. I don't want you being.
I do. It's nearly midnight here, and I'm gonna be up in about 6 hours. So yeah.
Let get sleep, Ron.
Yeah, let's get sleep. But yeah, we'll wrap things up, guys. If you have enjoyed this on YouTube as well, do smash the like button, do share the content around. It does massively help, and we'll see you on the other side. And as always, up the Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners.